Tonight, when the sun goes down, you're going to flip a switch. Light will flood the room, and you won't think twice about it. But for 99.9% of human history, that switch didn't exist. When the sun set, the world went dark. You couldn't even see your own hand in front of your face. But modern humans almost never experience this. For over 300,000 years, every single one of your ancestors spent roughly half their life in near total darkness. They didn't even have candles for most of that time, just the black sky, the stars, and whatever fire they could keep alive. So what did they actually do for all those hours? The answer changes everything we think we know about sleep, storytelling, and what it means to be human. Let's start with fire, because fire is the reason any of this was possible. The earliest solid evidence of humans controlling fire comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, roughly 1 million years ago. But fire didn't just keep people warm, fire completely restructured the human day. Before fire, our ancestors were like every other primate. When the sun went down, you climbed a tree or found a sheltered spot and you stayed still. Moving at night meant becoming food. Our eyes are poorly adapted to darkness compared to the predators that hunted us: leopards, hyenas, wolves. All of them could see just fine. Fire changed that equation overnight, literally. A campfire creates a circle of safety roughly 30 feet in diameter. Inside that circle, predators stay back. Outside that circle, you're exposed. This is not an exaggeration. Researchers studying modern hunter-gatherer communities have documented that individuals who move away from the fire at night face significantly higher risks from wildlife encounters even today. But here's what's fascinating. Fire didn't just protect humans at night, it gave them something they'd never had before: extra hours. Before fire, the useful day ended at sunset. That's maybe 12 hours in summer, as few as 8 in winter. Fire suddenly added 2 to 4 usable hours to every single day. And over thousands of generations, those extra hours changed our species. In 2014, anthropologist Holly Wiesner published a study in the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. She spent years recording conversations among the Ju or Huansi Bushmen of the Kalahari Desert, one of the last communities on Earth still living something close to the original human lifestyle. What she found was striking. During the day, about 80% of conversations were practical: who's hunting where, which plants are ready, logistics, planning. Daytime talk was work, but at night around the fire, the entire character of conversation changed. 81% of conversations were stories, tales of people in distant places, adventures, myths about the origins of the world, jokes that made the whole camp laugh. Wiesner argued that firelight conversation is where human culture was born. The campfire was the original theater, the original classroom, the original gathering place. It's where humans learned to think beyond the immediate present and imagine things that don't exist yet. It's where we became us. But the night wasn't just about stories around the fire. There was something else happening, something that researchers only rediscovered in the last 30 years. You were not designed to sleep the way you sleep right now. In 2001, historian Roger Ekirch published research that shifted our understanding of sleep science. He had spent 16 years combing through historical records and found something nobody expected: over 500 references spanning centuries. Prayer books from the 1400s, court records, diaries, medical texts, personal letters, even passages from ancient literature. All of them mentioned the same thing: first sleep and second sleep. Before the industrial age, people did not sleep in one continuous block. They went to bed shortly after sunset, slept for about 4 hours, then woke up naturally. They stayed awake for 1 to 2 hours in the middle of the night, then they went back to sleep for another 4 hours until dawn. This wasn't insomnia. This was normal. This was how humans across the world slept for thousands of years. And what did people do during that wakeful window in the middle of the night? Everything. People visited neighbors. They reflected on their dreams while the images were still fresh. They wrote. They simply lay quietly in the dark and thought. A physician's guide from the 1500s advised that the hours between first and second sleep, what people called the watch, were the ideal time for study and deep reflection, when the mind was calm and the world was still. Historians had been reading these references for centuries, but kept interpreting them differently because they couldn't conceive that people once slept in a fundamentally different pattern. The assumption was so deeply embedded that some translators reworded ancient Greek and medieval Latin to fit their modern understanding. But then science confirmed what history had been pointing to all along. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Ware at the National Institute of Mental Health ran a controlled experiment. He removed artificial light from participants' lives entirely. For 1 month, they experienced 14 hours of darkness each night, similar to what early humans would have known before firelight extended the evening. Within weeks, every single participant settled into the same pattern without prompting. 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours of quiet wakefulness, then 4 more hours of sleep. Nobody instructed them to do this. Their bodies simply did it, as if a deeply embedded program had been waiting, buried beneath centuries of artificial light. Ware measured hormone levels during the wakeful period and found something remarkable. Participants were in a neurological state unlike ordinary wakefulness. Their brains were producing elevated levels of prolactin, a hormone associated with deep relaxation and meditative states. They described feeling calm, reflective, almost contemplative. It wasn't just a gap in sleep. It was its own distinct state of consciousness. one that most modern humans have never experienced. So what ended it? The answer is simpler than you'd expect. Light. In the 1600s, cities began installing street lamps. Paris was among the first, followed by London. The night, once a place of vulnerability, slowly became navigable. Then came cheaper candles, then gas lamps in the 1800s. Then, in 1879, the electric light bulb was commercialized, and within a generation, the night as humans had known it for 300,000 years was gone. And here's the part most people never learn. The word curfew comes from the French couvre-feu. It literally means cover fire. In medieval towns, a bell would ring at night signaling everyone to extinguish or cover their fires. Not primarily for safety, but because night was supposed to be dark. Night was when you rested. Night was when you were vulnerable. For most of recorded history, being outside after dark was considered suspicious. In many medieval European cities, walking the streets at night without a lantern was a punishable offense. The night belonged to a world most people feared in a way that's almost impossible to relate to today. And then we conquered it. We flooded it with light, and we called that progress. But here's what we lost. Modern humans are exposed to artificial light an average of 7 to 8 hours after sunset. That light, especially the blue light from screens, suppresses melatonin production, the hormone that governs sleep. Your body cannot distinguish between a light bulb and the sun. When light reaches your retina at 11 p.m., your brain registers it as daytime. It delays melatonin release. It fragments sleep. It disrupts the circadian rhythm that took millions of years to develop. Researchers have found that people who spend just 1 week camping with no artificial light at all have their melatonin cycles reset by nearly 2 hours. Their bodies begin producing melatonin at sunset rather than hours afterward. That's all it takes for 300,000 years of biological programming to reassert itself. We didn't just shift when we sleep. We eliminated an entire phase of human consciousness. That quiet, reflective state between first and second sleep, the one VAERS participants described as deeply peaceful, no longer exists for most people. Instead, we have insomnia, and we treat it like a malfunction. But what if it isn't a malfunction at all? What if waking at 2 a.m. and lying there in the dark isn't your body breaking down, but your body remembering exactly what it was built to do? For 300,000 years, your ancestors moved through the night in a rhythm that modern science is only beginning to understand. They gathered around fires and told stories that built civilizations. They slept in 2 phases, with a window of quiet reflection between them. They lived in darkness so complete that the Milky Way wasn't something you drove hours to see. It was just the sky. And every night when they woke in the dark between first and second sleep, they lay there in silence and thought about their lives, their dreams. We traded all of that for a light switch. And most of us never even knew what was gone.